Hello and welcome to the Steve Kalis Show. I'm Steve Kalis and I'm joined once again by Kevin Harris. Kevin, what the hell is going on over there?
I'm not technically minded. We were aware of this.
No, are you okay? Have you had a good day other than technology letting you down?
No.
Is it something that a life coach can perhaps help you with?
Not unless a life coach has a doctorate in waste recycling.
Harry, do you have a doctorate in waste recycling?
It's one thing I'm not versed on, unfortunately.
If you'd said we would have also got a waste recyclist on, Kevin, and then we could have solved all that.
I work with them, and we were all smashing our heads together at the moment, so I don't know.
I can work with other kinds of wastes, but...
Well, it's just... Water recycling is, wastewater recycling is hardly the most exciting career in the world, but when it's going wrong, it certainly isn't.
What was it, Big Turd blocking something up?
I wish it was that simple. I really do.
Well,
if it was that simple, mate, I would have physically jumped up and down on it by now.
Oh, right. Do you get like, and Harry, we'll bring you in properly in a second, I promise, but I want to I want to pursue this line of inquiry for a moment. Kevin,
go for it.
Don't you get things called, what are they called, shitbergs or something that clog up the sewers? Is that right?
Fatbergs, yes, that is a real thing.
Is that just where people pour their fat waste and it all congeals and blocks the sewers?
Fat and rag, because wet wipes are possibly the strongest material known to man when you don't want them to be.
Like fucking Kevlar.
But you can, so if I stick my hand in a macerator, I will have no fingers left. But you get a ball of that stuff, and all it does is wrap around and turn into rope. Literally won't cut it.
Oh, wow.
That's why we tell you not to use it.
Right, I see. Yeah. No, always dispose of your wet wipes safely and accordingly.
And obviously not wishing to knock the women of the world, but the other 50% of the issues is the stuff they flush.
Oh, don't bring up tampons 3 minutes into an episode, Kevin. I've got an uneasy stomach today.
You'll edit. No, you can edit this out. You'll be fine.
I never edit out a tampon, Kevin. Whenever tampons get brought up on a podcast, it stays in, unfortunately.
They stay.
Well, Kevin, this will cheer you up because I would like to introduce our guest for today, a man whose podcast I was on a couple of nights ago, and it took an unexpected turn. And Kevin, you'll be surprised to hear that I had a little bit of red wine prior to the interview, and it got sort of deep and emotional. And it was actually it's actually one of the best, probably the best guest appearance I've ever had on a podcast. And so, with that in mind,
for you, not for Harry.
Me, Harry, yeah, Harry had a terrible time. But with that in mind, I'd like to introduce to our audience Harry Purdy. Harry, how the hell are you, mate?
Do you know what? I'm really good, lads, and thank you for making the first 3.5 minutes of the Steve Kalis Show really entertaining to watch for me as a guest. But no, genuinely, gents, pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into whatever tunnel this podcast could go down.
Who knows?
Who knows?
It's all fatbergs and tampons from here on in.
Yeah.
So, Harry, why don't you use this time now to tell us about your journey, your podcast. This time and space is really for you to introduce yourself to our listeners.
So I got asked this question on a recent guest appearance, and I just used the terminology. I was a nice guy, so I was predetermined tonight with the fact that I was going to go a little bit more detailed with my introduction today. I am a podcast host, the host of the 100% podcast, which was formerly known as the Grassroots Guy podcast, where I talk about self-development, fitness, nutrition, health, all things where an individual could potentially look to improve themselves and give 100% in life. That's kind of the mantra on the podcast. And then I am also Harry Purdy coach, who specializes in teaching people who have tried everything how to lose weight when they've not necessarily done very well in the past. And previously, over the last 2 years, on my mindset journey and mental health journey as well, I've taken up mindset coaching as well. So people who are having issues with anxiety, depression, maybe not sure of what their purpose is, not sure what direction they want to go in life, are also in my client base as well. So yeah, that's me.
Oh boy, did you come to the right place.
Some work for you.
So there's specific questions that I want to ask, but I just want to break down a little bit more about you before we begin,
Yeah, I'm real.
because I've been listening to your podcast. Now, Harry, I want to be someone who is totally supportive of other local people being very good at podcasting. Unfortunately, it's just not in my nature. So I'm listening to your podcast, full of envy and fury, because you're such a talented podcaster. As an interviewer, I mean, I've spoken to Kevin for ages and ages about the skill of interviewing and how you either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, it's very, very difficult to learn, because sometimes you can talk yourself into a hole, or the other person's just giving you nothing. That's very, very difficult.
Or you drink too much wine and go on a tangent. And,
you might drink too much wine and say some stupid things. All interviewers, that's the interviewer's curse. But you have got such a gift for that, mate. And I was very, very impressed with how talented you are with interviewing and podcasting. So how have you found the podcast experience so far?
A journey, to be honest with you. If I look back at early episodes, I was a proper numpty at the beginning and basically got led by my laptop's memory. So I would keep the important thing, i.e. the audio, and get rid of the video. So there are probably a third of my podcasts without video footage that I can't review. However, the earliest ones, I do look back at myself, and there is a lot of there is a lot of ahs, there's a lot of like this, like that. And occasionally, because I was quite excited at the time, I would butt in. Like not intentionally, but just I would hear something in what a guest was saying to me, and I would just want to intervene on that point straight away, rather than let them carry on their flow. But now, I'd like to say that I've developed this kind of ability to let somebody genuinely finish. And I don't know, I heard somebody say, I can't remember the quote, but it's like, when somebody looks like they finished, give them 3 seconds, because they probably haven't.
Yeah, that's also where I find you milk a lot of the good stuff, because there's some part of their brain where they're talking, a wall goes up, and they think, oh no, I won't just say that, I'll stop myself here. And then there's a innate human need to fill the silence. And if you can be strong enough to hold the silence, it's almost like a game of chicken. And then the other person, more often than not, will break that silence and continue to give you whatever information you're after, or continue the conversation. So yeah, I totally agree.
But as well as that, on the podcast front, as I said, it was known as the Grassroots Guy podcast. The podcast developed from lockdown, where everybody was looking for another thing to do to try and pass some time, right? So originally, the background of the podcast was to speak to local people from Yeovil and the surrounding area around their successes in sport. So I don't know if you guys are aware, there are actually a fair few people locally that have gone on and made it to a good level professionally, and or are playing at a good level locally that have offered a lot to the game. So there's the chairman of the Yeovil and District Football League, John Shearing. He's like a local hero. He's been chairman of the Yeovil and District League now for probably 20 years. It's ridiculous, the service that he's put in as a volunteer. And then you go on to speak to like Yeovil cricket captain Callum Gundry, who scored a phenomenal amount of cricket runs. Not last year, the year before. That was an amazing conversation. My best friend, Lewis Foisey, who plays for Wincanton Town, has played a ridiculous amount of games of local football at a good level. And that was just a brilliant conversation. But where I was going with this is that it started off on that front. Like, I wanted to speak to people about local sport. But then, of course, that kind of niche runs its course a little bit. There's only so many times you can say, who's your footballing hero or who's your sporting hero to people before you kind of need to mix things up. And as my interests moved more towards personal development, improving myself, improving my mindset, learning new things, using the podcast, as much as I get some incredible content from some genuinely inspiring guests, as you have had as well, but probably in a different format altogether, I can kind of use these podcasts, to give really valuable information to people, in my opinion, really valuable stuff on how mental health, how they can improve their mental health, how they can like make themselves more resilient, how to potentially be a bit of a healthier person and look after yourself more. But also I'm sat there on the other side asking questions because I'm learning too. And I want people to genuinely know that when I'm asking these questions to guests, it's because I want to know the bloody answers to them as well from another expert's point of view.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's exactly the approach. A podcast where you are on a journey yourself, educating yourself. That's the best. If you come at it as a professional and or as an expert talking to other experts, there's knowledge to be gained there, but the listener wants to feel like they're being brought along on your adventure. So yeah, I totally agree. Now, Harry, it's evident to you and to people that know Kevin and I that we are immaculate physical specimens capable of breathtaking physical feats. What we want to do is explore a little bit about the specifics of how you might go about. I mean, you don't have to give specific advice, maybe, but it's up to you. But you can maybe help us if we give you some scenarios. What would you do to, to help and encourage? What would your plan be? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. There you go. I've dropped my podcast in with a little quote there as well.
Oh wait, we're doing that game. Okay, that's good.
No, sorry. Wrong podcast.
No, we'll do it. We'll see on Harry's podcast. We check to see who could say 100% the most, and I think wasn't it a tie in the end? So I'll squeeze in 2-2. I'll squeeze in 100%.
There you go.
A few more times just to get you some free advertising. So, Kevin, is there somewhere that you want to start? Is there somewhere specific that maybe either your own life or from experience that if you had, you've got now access to a life coach and a mindset coach, if you were to approach someone like Harry, where would you start? What would you want him to tackle?
Good God, there's a litany of shite. There's so much.
Because you had a brief foray with bodybuilding, and without irony, you were once upon a time a magnificent muscular specimen, weren't you?
Yes, at one point, but that was because I'd had an accident, and they told me I wouldn't walk and do a few other things, so I chose to prove them wrong. Before that, when I was younger, I used to play semi-professional football, play for Chelsea as a youth, did all that shite, and actually could do athletic stuff. Then I had kids, and see, I'm a dark horse, mate.
You used to play for Chelsea, did you say?
Yeah, under 15s.
Oh, water boy, or on the field?
You're an arse. You really are an arse.
Wow, that's really impressive. We've had countless conversations, and I've never known that about you.
Our conversations are nonsense. I don't talk about stuff I can't do anymore.
Right, okay. Well, then let's use that. So, Harry, let's say you had someone who at one point did reach some really good fitness, and then through injury or having lots of kids, then they suddenly fall out of it, and discipline is also an issue. Where do you? And this is a totally anonymous example, Kevin. I don't have you in mind for this.
But, no, it wasn't. I just removed this knife from my back here.
but Harry, where do you begin to encourage someone to have the discipline to get back on the wagon? What do you do to start encouraging them to start exercising again? Maybe.
So, I've always been a believer in leverage, and also just touching on a little tangent quickly. You mentioned about like being on the wagon. Now, the wagon is something that I've learned over the past kind of couple of years that isn't necessarily a thing. I think you kind of, if I talk generically about weight loss and being healthier straight away, number one, me talking to both of you about weight loss is fine on a general level. However, Stephen, you would have me as your coach, and I would speak to you about your individual needs and how your lifestyle is, and I would give you a, let's say, like prescribed method. And then Kev, I would also have a conversation with you on the side and say, how's your lifestyle? What's your activity level in the week? Where have you got time? All those sorts of things. And then you would get a separate answer as well. So it's kind of like summarize you both as one answer would be difficult for any coach to do.
So I see. So you've got to always do like a bespoke thing for each person.
100%. Right. Yeah. And that's not even, and that like definitely, because there's no point me making a PDF and saying to you both, right, I want you to walk 15,000 steps a day. I'm going to assign you both 2,000 calories a day to eat, and let's say 180 grams of protein. And I want you to go in the gym 3 times a week as well, right? Yeah, we spoke on your podcast the other night, Stephen, about the plates that you spin. Mm-hmm. So if I was to go, bang, there's your PDF document, you'd look at me and go, is he taking the fucking piss out of me? Which, like, you would. And also that would make it like completely unachievable for you. So I always think, like, when I look at a new client, I'm like, right, where are they at? Because if I was to go into like a real detailed answer with this, I could go into like what body weight you are, how tall you are, like how many steps you think you probably get in a day, and all those sorts of things. But actually, at the moment, with where you both are at in terms of your health and your fitness, I would literally try and make this as easy as possible for you. So for you, Stephen, I'd say, right, how many glasses of wine are you drinking a week? And you'd say maybe, like, I don't know, let's go with a yeah, let's not dodge the question, but like maybe, I don't know, like maybe drink a bottle of wine a week, let's say. And I'd say, right, cool.
He does that a podcast.
Yeah, all right. Well,
no, that's good. That's a good. As a bottle is, even that's a lot. That's fine. I have a few glasses when recording, so that's good. We can go from there.
Yeah, cool. So if I said to you, like, what's the reason you do that? You'd probably say, well, you just like it along with the podcast. So what you've potentially got there is you've got an unhealthy habit attached to a healthy habit, like, i.e., your podcast is a healthy habit, but it's attached to an unhealthy one, right? And then Kevin, I don't know, for yourself, obviously you've got quite an active job by the sounds of it, being in the water. Like, what is it? You do stuff with waters and water waste and whatever. So you must be on the move quite a bit in the day.
Yeah, sadly.
But quite busy.
Yeah.
So I would say to you, like,
about 10 to 12,000 steps a day.
So I'd say, like, in terms of where you're at, in terms of eating meals and stuff a day, would you say that at lunchtime you've got to try and grab things on the hop a bit more, right?
Now I run a place. That used to be the case, yeah. Now I run a place. I've been a lot more regimented. I'm trying to do one thing at a time. So work on the diet, get that sort of okay, then get rid of the smoking, and do it like that, rather than trying to do it all in one go and failing fucking miserably first weekend.
And literally, if you was to come on my program, that would be like what Kevin's just said there, one thing at a time. For the first 2 weeks of the program, I'd be literally tying you down to two things. Let's try and get your hydration levels going. Let's try and increase your activity level. And I don't mean, like I said, on this blank PDF that I could just assign everybody, that just wouldn't work. I'd get no results. I'd say, right, where in your week can we get 3 or 4 half-an-hour slots where you just go out for a walk?
Right.
Yeah, or do something along those lines, like stationary bike, go out for a walk, go for like, for you, Steve, might be with the pushchair with the kid, half an hour down the road, get them off to sleep or whatever. For you, Kev, it might be on your lunch break. Where can we just do little things like that? And then from week 3, I'd be saying, right, let's genuinely break down your diet, right? So what are you both consuming in the mornings? What are you both consuming in the lunchtimes? What are you both consuming in the evenings? And I'd genuinely like be intrigued to know where that would lead, because that would also give me some kind of indication of how much calorie content you're consuming, which genuinely in terms of weight loss is the number one factor which will affect both of you, like, well, anybody, like the human population. Calories in versus calories out. If you're consuming too many calories, you will gain weight. If you consume less calories than what your body needs, scientifically, you will lose weight, whether that be body fat or in muscle. If you eat enough protein, hopefully you sustain your muscle, but there is obviously a chance when you drop calories, you're going to lose weight from somewhere. So if you imagine a cup of water, yeah, when you fill it up and you overfill it, that's what you're doing with your calories in your body. So obviously in the cup of water, it overflows. And let's just explain that overflowing equals fat, body fat. But if you've got a cup of water and you pour it out, the mass of the cup is becoming less. And that's what happens when you reduce your calories, which is probably like another fundamental fat loss 101 thing that I can add into the podcast straight away.
Cool. Well, that's great. So that makes sense. That's really, I suppose you want to start gentle because you don't want someone to go, oh, fuck, I'm leaving. I'm not doing this. It's too much too soon. So what you're doing is you're steadily easing them into the idea of change. And I think that's really clever. That's a really good way to go about it. Do you find that there are common misconceptions about weight loss and fitness that you have to tackle the minute someone sort of comes to you and starts talking to you about it? Is that a common thing?
Yeah, absolutely. The one that's literally light bulb moment in my head is that people expect quick results. Now, backstory on me, 23 stone in 2016, 15 stone now. But that's been
wow, good work.
Yeah, thank you, mate. And that is probably, I said it on a podcast I was on the other day. It's probably my biggest, proudest achievement in terms of my weight loss, because it's been a sustained effort over a long period of time. And the biggest misconception for people is that they're going to do a 90-day program and that's going to take them from their unhealthy state to a healthy state that they're happy with, when that's not the case. The more I've looked into this and the more that I've read, the more that I've done myself, is that actually, if you want to become a healthy person, you can't just say that you're going to be a healthy person for a specific amount of time. This has to be a change of mindset overall. Like, and that's not saying that you've got to eat grapes and lettuce for the rest of your life. That's just saying that this mindset element around, right, I'm going to become healthier. Well, it's like, what, like 3 or 4 things can you do on a daily basis that are going to attribute to that? So is it 2 liters of water? Like I said, easy things, 30-minute walk for somebody at the beginning. For me now, because of where I'm at, I'm actually on a bit of a transition myself between having to change my mentality from purely I'm somebody that's chasing weight loss to now somebody that's sustaining their body mass to look a little bit better with their top off, right? Which is a totally different conversation. That's like further down the line. But what I'm saying is that if you start your healthy journey and you say, well, I'm going to do this to look good by the summer, well, yeah, that's cool. But what happens when summer comes around, you've lost maybe a stone, and then you go back to old habits? You're going to get the same results. There's a common quote that's used: is same habits, same results; new habits, different results, which is something that I think you need to take into consideration if ever you're taking on a healthy weight loss challenge or whatever it may be. Like healthy mindset, healthy weight, healthy overall in general. If you're doing the same things, you're just going to expect the same results. If you change it up, then you're going to expect new results, but don't expect those new results to happen in 2 weeks, let's say. That's another thing that people have a misconception of. They're like, even with mindset or mental health, right, I'm going to do journaling for 2 weeks. Well, no. Like, this isn't like a sexy thing that you feel better after 2 weeks. This is something that you have to stick at and take on for a long period of time to get results. But I promise you, everybody who's listening, if you do take these things up and you do give them time to embed, the longer you do them, the more they'll become a habit. The longer you do them, the chances they will become a habit for you. At the end of the road, this new healthy you that you have got your sights on will start to eventually appear.
Hey, tell you what, man, that's you can see your passion for it really sort of spills out of you while you're talking about it, and it very nearly makes me want to lose weight and be healthy. That's how inspiring you are, Harry. And I haven't felt that for a long time, so that's great work. Is there anything you think people should consider before sort of taking on the challenge? I know you touched on a lot of that sort of stuff then. I suppose what I'm asking is there anything that you broadly would, if you could beam knowledge into everyone's head around the world, or beam your voice into everyone's living room, what would you want people to know, either about you, the service you provide, or about weight loss in general? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the two things that strike out to me, if you don't mind, is number one is, it took me a while to realize this with my own mental health and my physical health, is that there is no magic pill. There's no magic shake. The Special K diet, eating cereal twice a day, ain't going to fucking help you. It ain't. The only person that is going to help you is you. And I know this is similar to what you said to me on Monday, Stephen, around your depression when you had a conversation with your father, is that it took him to be really blunt with you and say, look, Stephen, mate, like you're boring me. And as harsh as it may sound, like there is genuinely nobody that's going to start cooking meal prep for you. There's nobody that's going to start dragging you around walking for half an hour at 4 days a week, whatever it may be. There's nobody that's going to drag you into the gym to see if you enjoy it. And by the way, the gym isn't the only way that you can exercise, right? There's so many different multitudes of ways that you can get your exercise in. You've just got to try and find one that you enjoy the most. Does that like make sense? So it's that, like, take responsibility, take charge. Imagine like, instead of feeling like you've got to take charge, imagine being given the tools to take charge, right? It's quite exciting, right? You can take charge of your life into whatever direction you want it to be. And that's a mindset and like a weight loss one as well, if you like. And with regards to my services, I don't mean this in like any disrespectful way, but I don't think there are many people that have gone on the journey that I've been on. Like,
right, that's what I was going to say on your behalf. You are someone who you're not one of these sort of influencers or trainers who has been sculpted his entire life. You know what I mean? You've had to put in the work. You've had to put boots to the ground, and you've had to carve yourself into the man you are today, mentally and physically. You've already done it. You are the best and most shining example of that. The fact that your method works, and I find that really impressive. And I'm proud for you of what you've managed to achieve there.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that.
So, Harry, you say you've prepared something for our listeners. So what is it that you've got for us?
Well, so before the podcast, I don't like to go anywhere unprepared. So I knew that the podcast would take a tangent down kind of like the healthy fitness, weight loss route. And so I just thought, well, what are my top 10 tips today? Because genuinely, they could vary. There's probably 30 top tips, but here's the 10 that I wrote down today, if you want me to share it with the show.
I do. Kevin, should we perhaps do like a jingle or something? Do you want to beatbox a jingle and I'll do a song over it? Do you want to give me...
No. What on earth?
So no to the jingle. I think we've got
no jingle.
I don't think Harry needs a jingle somehow. I think his words will be enough.
I'll edit a jingle using quotes Kevin said over some jolly music, and that will be the jingle which leads to Harry's 10 tips for us.
What's the biggest animal you could successfully sellotape to a lamppost?
So number one, I've put something which I did say earlier, to be fair, is you've got to make it easy for your lifestyle. So if you're somebody that's working 48 hours a week and your expectations are that you're going to go out for a run twice a week, you're going to go to the gym 4 times a week, and your diet's going to be immaculate, you're probably setting yourself up for failure straight away. So make your targets realistic. The second one is leverage. And leverage is a funny old word in the fitness and health mindset route, because we always think about the impacts of what we're doing can have on us. Now, if you think about the impacts of you being a healthier person to, let's say, your parents or your children, or like for me, when I'm older, like I can't think of anything worse than being really into football, and then maybe I have a son one day and they're in the garden kicking a ball around and I can't join in with them because I get too out of breath. But it's something that maybe like you can use as leverage. But with all of my clients anyway, I'll say, write down 20 reasons why you want this to be a success, but not just for you, but for other people around you in your life. Is it going to make your job easier? Is it going to make you happier? Is it going to give you more confidence? Are you going to feel more empowered if you can fit into a smaller size shirt? Are you going to be able to take up that sport that you've been putting off for the last 2 years? There's many other different things that I go on that leverage route. You can't rely on motivation is a top tip, because when people come to a coach, they've come to you with motivation in mind, right? They've invested in you, let's say. So they're already motivated. The motivation is paying with a bit of cash. But motivation is a temporary thing, like all of our emotions. Discipline trumps motivation. I know that's quite a like cliche, like mindset-y quote, but it always does. Your motivation may last you 2 weeks, but it will soon disappear and then it will reappear again. But in between that time, you have to be disciplined. You have to rely on your consistency. So that's number 3.
I really like that point. Just on that, Harry, whilst you're, that has been that in the biography of my life. The fleeting motivation is something that pops up all the time, right? If you were to come to my house and look closely in all the rooms, you'll see paint pots from when I want to be a painter. You'll see half-made bowls where I want to be a sculptor. What you'll see, paint on the walls. You'll see different toys. You'll see stuff I've collected. I'm a different human being every sort of 2 or 3 weeks because of the way my brain ticks over. So
that's called ADHD.
I suspect so.
Yeah, there's actually
from one to another.
Yeah, there's actually a thing at the moment in the creators world, let's say, where a lot of creators online are getting tested for ADHD, and a lot of people are coming back positive.
I am at the moment.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like just how overlooked it's been for a lot of people's lives, that they've had this like mental condition. Is that the right phrase to use?
Yeah, because I remember saying to my 100%. I remember saying to my fiance just a few months ago, like, man, how sad was it that I had to beat myself into normalcy as a kid because of how different my brain was to everybody else, and then I become. Yeah, exactly. I had to really wrestle. Oh, I can't think that, can't do that. No one else is doing that, so I won't do those things. So I had to wrestle myself to be normal, and then I, faked it till I made it, sort of thing. And so yeah, that's really sound advice, and I'm glad people are sort of waking up to it a little bit more, because I don't like the idea that. I like the idea that some young me somewhere gets to be more himself and be more creative and be more unusual because his brain's working that way and he gets to sort of own it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like absolutely. And then a little bonus, like a bonus one on the mindset level with regards to motivation being temporary. That's the same with all of your emotions. And I think this is one of the challenges with mental health at the moment. When people are feeling anxious, when people are feeling sad, when people are feeling, let's say, low or depressed, is that these emotions are only temporary, like motivation, like feeling happy, like all of these emotions are literally, we're like I don't even know what the word is, but when you have your heartbeat taken in a hospital, right? That is literally how your emotions can change over what was the word? Sorry, Kev?
ECG, and it was
there you go, ECG, like an ECG. You could literally watch your emotions do this over the course of the week. And I think it's important for people to realize that. Like, just because you're not feeling happy one day and you're feeling a little bit shit doesn't mean that you are having a shit week. That just means that at that moment in time, you're not feeling too good. So my question to you in that moment would be, how do you want to feel? Normally 9 times out of 10, it would be energized, happy. I want to feel electric, whatever the word that you choose be. Well, what's going to make you feel like that?
Amen.
We've all got an answer.
Sweet. Yeah. Amazing. That's great.
Shall I carry on?
Yeah, mate, you go. Yeah, you've got my rapt attention.
So number 4, increase your energy usage. I've already explained a little bit about calories, but every time you do something, like whether you open the fridge once or twice or 3 times to get the bottle of milk out to make your tea. No, what I'm saying is, right, when you go and make your cup of tea, open the fridge twice instead of once, because that's burning more energy, right? Every time you do something a little bit active, you are burning calories. So in terms of weight loss,
like a windmill.
Yeah. But every time you do something, but obviously, of course, I'm talking in more of a realistic sense, dancing around your front room, going out for a 20-30 minute walk 5 times a week, taking the kids down the park, all those sorts of things. These are the things that are going to start having an impact on you overall, and especially with your mental health as well. Make wise choices. Now, I mean, this is a bit of a common sense one, right? But if you're going into Tesco's and you're in a rush at lunchtime and you're going, I don't know, like chicken mayo sandwich, packet of extra large cheese and onion crisps and a Kit Kat, or like a full fat bottle of Coke, those probably aren't the most wisest choices. And the other thing, I'll link in another point with that one, is they're not satiating foods. These are foods that you're going to eat, you're going to burn through them like that, and you're going to be hungry again an hour after. So eat things that have bulk to them, like fruit, veg, carbs, whole carbs. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, a sandwich from Tesco's every now and again, and a chocolate bar is fine. But if that's something that you rely on a regular basis to fuel your body, then maybe that's somewhere where you could look to make a few changes. Hydration is point number. So that was 0.6 and 5 and 6. Point number 7 is hydration. It's overlooked in general for our health and well-being, how drinking 2 to 3 liters of water, depending on obviously your body size, body weight, how tall you are, can have an effect on you. It can even, there's been studies that have shown that it can regulate your hunger. So if you're getting to, I don't know, you've had breakfast and you're getting to 11 o'clock in the morning and you're feeling hungry again, ask yourself a question like, how's my hydration been today? And if it's not been very good, there's probably a sense that you're getting a chemical reaction in your brain that's saying, I need to intake something, but is it going to be food, or is it going to be you just need a drink? Like, it's proven. And then with that as well, of course, you've got your other fundamental way that you can tell whether you're hydrated or not, and that's by the color of your urine. I know this is common knowledge for most people, but some people may not know. So if your urine is a bright yellow color when you go for a wee, that is your body screaming at you, hello, Stephen, please give me some water, right? Like with everything that our body does, it relies on water to fuel. It's skin complexion, our digestion. If you're somebody that's constantly blocked up all the time, you can't go for a poo, like having water in your body can assist with you with that. So that's my next point. The next one, don't overlimit yourself. So I've already mentioned like some bad foods, but if you're somebody that, let's say, I don't know, you love ice cream. If I say to you in my program that, right, you're not eating ice cream for the next 90 days, all you're going to be thinking about for those 90 days is fucking ice cream. So even if I said to you, mate, Steve, on Steven's example, or Kev, for you with cigarettes, if I said to you, cut out cigarettes completely, you'd tell me to piss off. Stephen, if I said to you, cut out red wine completely, you'd tell me to piss off. So it's about,
He'd slur it at you anyway.
Little tremor. But like, as humorous as those points are, gents, it's important, right? You have to have life with balance. I mean, I'm being a right nutter at the moment, and I'm going till May without having a beer, but that's just to prove that I can do it. No other reason. But if you're one of those people that likes a pint after work, cool, but make it 1 or 2. Don't make it 4 or 8, right? You know what I'm saying? Where the balance is. But yeah, don't limit yourself was the overall point. So that doesn't mean when you go to be a healthier person that you can't eat the foods that you love. You can eat them, but just in moderation. One hot day doesn't make a summer, I wrote down here as a point, and that's basically related to another common mistake people make when they go into a health kick or join the bandwagon, as I don't like to call it, but we'll call it, is they'll do 7 days brilliantly, like hitting it like bang, 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 7 days in a row,
and then
real
reward
good.
themselves on Sunday with everything.
100%. And then they'll regret that. Like you said today, Stephen, you had a chilled day, you watched your films, blah, blah, blah. But one hot day doesn't make a summer. Just because you've had one day, that doesn't dictate the rest of those, let's say 90 days, right? That just means that you've had one day to yourself, or you've had one day where you've had some bad food, or one day where you've treated yourself. That doesn't necessarily mean, doesn't mean that Monday has to be the same. Monday can be the same as the 7 days prior to that. And again,
usually do it on the Friday, then diet starts again on Monday.
and like you see that with alcohol, like something, like when people rely on the beers on a Friday like night because they've had a tough week, they're looking forward to the weekend, and then they go, oh, I'll just have a few on the Friday night. Then they get a text from their mates, and do you want to go out on a Saturday night? Yeah, we'll go out on a Saturday night. And then the circle starts again. And that's my other point, is break the circle. Like I think it's my final point, because I've lost count. It's all good. Break the circle. Normally as well, like with eating en masse and eating emotionally and being lonely, let's say, or feeling sad and then going to the tub of ice cream or bar of chocolate, noticing those thoughts is part of the battle. But what tends to happen with this, I wish I had a little whiteboard here, is you have your negative feeling or your negative thought or your craving, and then you take part in negative habit or eating the chocolate bar or whatever it may be, which then has a negative reaction, right? So like if you eat, let's say 500 calories of ice cream in an evening because you've gone to the freezer because you felt like shit, that's probably going to make you put on weight, right? If you've eaten 3 meals in the day, that's just science. That's the way that it works. But then after the negative impact of what you've done happens, you then have those negative feelings again. See that? So you've just got a 4-point circle. Bosh, 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 negative, 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 negative. Now, the challenge is that we start to become like emotionally aware, or food aware, I call it. Well, I'm like last night, I was craving a chocolate bar like in the evening. That's fine. No problem at all. But was it the chocolate bar I was craving, or was it just something sweet? Like, you know what I'm saying? But then challenging that habit. So break the circle here. Right. I fancy a chocolate bar. Is that really true? Do you need it? Like, what else can you have that might satisfy you instead? Or is it the glass of water that you're craving, right? The hunger hormone. Then you go for a positive habit. So you've changed your habit straight away, which then has a positive impact, which then doesn't lead to the negative knock-on effect. So putting on weight, which then hopefully, if you keep breaking that circle, will lead you to have more positive feelings at the top, which lead to less of the negative choices. There's 10.
Boom. 10. Boom. We just got Harry Purdy'd. Look at that.
Managed that 100%.
Yeah, that's really good. Well done. Oh, fuck off, Kevin.
I wrote down bonus as well.
Oh,
so
110%.
So in school and college, I'm sure you remember in lessons you would get taught about goal setting, right? SMART. Remember SMART?
Yes.
Yeah. So specific, actionable, measurable, realistic time frame. These are all things that are relative to fat loss or mental health or setting goals or improving your mindset. Like, so number one, obviously, is being specific. What do you want to achieve? Well, let's be realistic and say, do you want to achieve a stone over 90 days, right? Let's make this real basic. Then it's actionable. What actions can you take? So we've spoken about some of them with those 10 things that I've just said. Let's just eat proper food, be a little bit more active, get on top of your hydration. Let's just use those 3. There's your actions. Measure it. Well, you can do that by jumping on the scales every day or every week or whatever you want to do, but just measure it. You can even do that by tape measure, round the waist, round the arms, round your backside, whatever you want to do with it, but just take some measurements because then you can see your improvements as you go through, which is unbelievably good for your brain. Realistic. So we've already said realistic. I've said we're going to lose a stone. If you're coming to me and you're telling me that you want to lose 3 stone in 90 days, I'm saying go and find another coach, mate, because I'm not giving people unrealistic expectations of what we should be achieving in that amount of time. Losing 3 stone in 90 days is unhealthy and it's not sustainable, which is another common mistake people make, is they try and make changes that aren't sustainable over a long period of time, which is why you see people who go to Weight Watchers, let's say, drop 3 stone in 90 days, stop doing Weight Watchers because they think they fucking cracked it, and then put all the weight back on. That's another podcast altogether. And then time frame. We've spoken about the time frame. 90 days, 3 months to introduce some new habits to your life is where we're at. Boom. There we go.
Boom. Hey, listen, Harry, that is invaluable advice. That's a really good. I'm glad to have that as a resource on the show. That's great, and I really appreciate you spending time talking to us about it. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we sort of wrap things up?
Do you know, I feel good of the advice that I've given you. There are so many misconceptions in the fitness industry, and for people listening, like, I want them to know that these things aren't easy. Like, they're not sexy. To get results that you are probably craving, there are like mental blocks in your head that you're going to have to drop. There are excuses that you're going to have to find ways to get around. There are stories about being big bone, let's just say, that you may have to counteract. But let's have it real, right? Like, at the moment, it's easier to buy a McDonald's than it is to go and make a incredibly nutritious meal with 40 grams of protein in it, have really whole carbs and vegetables. That's just facts. But those choices, when you start making them instead of taking an easy option, can have such a massive effect on you. And overall, your energy levels will increase when you become more healthier. You'll feel more fit. You'll feel more confident if you start taking those kinds of things more seriously. And I did end the podcast previously with this quote, and it is definitely one that it took me a long time to realize, is that what is hard for us is not necessarily bad. And I think that links with the whole McDonald's analogy, that sometimes taking a hard choice to do something, that could be ending a relationship, that could be doing meal prep, that could be going out for your first run in fucking 3 years, whatever it may be. It may be cooking a nutritious meal for the first time in a year if you do live alone, because it's so easy to just fall into the trap of microwave meals, takeaways, Deliveroo, all those sorts of things. But if you do start taking the harder choices over the easy ones, in those elements of life, you will start to see the results pretty bloody quickly.
Oh, 100%.
It's definitely a thing, man.
Hey, Harry, we're so grateful to have had you on and for you to have given us advice to our listeners. Where can people find you if they think, man, that Harry Purdy is one delicious salad and I want some more of him? Where can they find you?
So bear with me because this has changed recently. I am at 100. No, I'm not. I'm at Harry Purdy Official on Instagram. I'm at Harry Purdy Coach on Twitter. And if anybody wants to contact me, I'm just Harry Purdy on Facebook. And genuinely, I give a free audio book away, which gives all of these tips that I've given on the podcast away for free. So if anybody wants them, send me a message and I can drop you the free audio book. No problem whatsoever.
You can also send us a link, mate. We can put it on the bottom of our episode notes and that sort of thing as well. So
yeah, amazing.
100% free.
Yeah, 100% free. And I am one of those people, like, it's falling into the brand identity now, which is really new.
Yeah,
that anybody that comes across my path now, I genuinely want to try and impact positively. So if it's mental health struggles, mindset, you want to start taking your life a little bit more seriously without sounding too harsh, or it is just genuinely you want to do a bit, like, you want to get on top of your weight loss, you want to get on top of your health, then just drop into my DMs. I could do all I can to try and help you.
So Harry, thanks again for coming on, man. I really enjoyed it. This is the second of our trilogy of conversations. We need to have a third to cap it off. But I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. You said something sweet after our last episode where you said, you know, when you get a sense that someone you talk to is very much on your wavelength and you are aligned in similar ways, then it's important to sort of stay connected with those people. And I totally agree with you. And I hope going forward that we can use you, Harry Purdy, as a guest of the show, because we're going to need you going forward. And if there's anything we can do for you, then just say. But Harry, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for being on the Steve Kalish Show.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's great to speak to you.